Hello, everyone. Welcome to our June workshop. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So today's workshop topic is how to grow your tax and accounting firm by focusing on a niche or specialty. So thank you all for joining us today. The tax and accounting industry can often feel oversaturated with other businesses and competitors. So standing out can be difficult, but by choosing a niche or specialty for your practice, you can definitely differentiate your brand in this crowded market. So for those of you who haven't heard of niche marketing, it is an advertising strategy that focuses on a unique target market, and we'll go more in depth to that. But first, I'd like to introduce our presenters. So Lee, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Alexa. And of course, since I'm driving the slides, I got a little over anxious and I wanted to look at our pictures first. But for those that don't know me, I am the founder and CEO of CountingWorks Pro. We've been working very hard in the last couple of years to really move the industry forward as far as new income opportunities and the technology that you use to attract and retain your client base. So I'm excited to talk about we're going to call it a niche or a niche or a specialties, but this is a very important topic. It's going to be a fairly short presentation today, but a lot of good information. So hopefully you can get some good takeaways from this. And then I'll introduce, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, hello, I'm Steve Anderson, Senior Business Development Manager here, and I'm similar with Lee. The new niche or niche, whatever you want to say, it's kind of the new evolution of taking it into the next level of marketing and strategies. So it's going to be a great topic, and it's going to be I'm very excited about it.
And I'm Alexa Myers. I'm the marketing manager here at CountingWorks Pro. So let's review today's agenda. So today we'll be discussing 4 main topics in depth. So the first one is specialists, bring in more money and build stronger reputations. And then we have how to choose your niche or specialty. Number 3 is building a niche or specialty into your brand. And then number 4, developing a roadmap for success. And a little bit about this workshop. We will have a Q&A at the end, but I also encourage you to ask questions along the way using the Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. This workshop is designed for US-based small tax and accounting practices. However, any other business or practice may benefit.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and start then. Thank you, Alexa. So the big issue here is on the intro is I want to get the thought across that most tax and accounting pros and their practices are generalists. And what I mean by that is you try to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. There's no real specialty. There's, you might be known for a local brand, so the local CPA, a regional CPA, but you're not necessarily owning any niche or specialty that we're going to talk about today. So what we're trying to do is get across that it's very hard to compete as a generalist. And, there's a couple other things. A lot of times you're set up as a generalist for services or questions that you don't necessarily have the expertise to fulfill. And quite honestly, sometimes you're doing some work that you may not like at all, right? So those are 2 kind of takeaways from the traditional generalist. But that being said, some may ask how one tax and accounting professional can be the best at a specific niche. So we always say, as a generalist, if I were in the cannabis industry, would I be looking for a CPA that does accounting, or would I be looking for a CPA who specializes in cannabis? And the reason for that, the perception from my side as a consumer is I would expect that the cannabis accountant has much more experience, will take less time to answer my questions, will be able to guide me to, what is unique about my particular area, much quicker and much better than what a generalist would be able to do. So whether that be an expat tax pro, whether that be, specializing in dentists, dentist is more of a niche, and we'll talk about this, versus a specialty, which is kind of 401k audits. I'm just throwing out some different ideas of what this means. But the whole idea here is if you specialize, your job will be a lot easier, and quite honestly, it'll make you better at your job. And this is from knowing the rules and unique ways people work to finding new clients and getting referrals, because the more people know about you in one area, the more likely they're going to refer you to others. And it's also an easier conversion for that person. Hey, this is this is my tax prep pro who works with law enforcement or police, right? So by focusing your practice on a specialty or niche, you'll drive some huge perks. So let's get started. So why should you be a specialist? Specialists bring in more money and build stronger reputations. You probably already know a tax or accounting pro in your area who specializes, let's say, in entertainment. And as a generalist, you may lose business to them all the time, right? So the perception is they have a knowledge advantage to you. So, as I said, guess what? When a client that works with a specialist goes to a Zoom chat room or event with other individuals like them, guess who they refer to people when asked, right? So they're going to do the specialist. They're going to say, hey, I work with someone who only works with my industry. They know my business better than any other people. So, which leads us into, are you sensing the opportunity here if you do the same? So this is going to be a long slide, how to choose your niche or specialty. I'm going to spend most of my time here, and I'm going to go a little off the talking points here, but nearly every market can be further defined by a particular need and preference of your particular target audience, right? So some of the most common ways to define a niche or specialty are based on, and I'm going to define niche and specialty a little bit more as we go, but let's just talk about high level stuff. So price, demographics, age, income level, education level, male, female, level of quality. So meaning, is this a premium service that you're offering? You're only targeting high end, or is this more of the mainstream kind of commodity tax preparation where I need a ton of numbers? Things based on values, interests, kind of attitudes, specifically, especially right now in today's world. You might have people that want to work with brands that speak or stand for specific things. That's another way to do this. And obviously geography, right? So this could be a city, this could be the Central Valley, Silicon Valley, this could be a country, Israel for expat taxes, things like that, right? And if you're in a very congested area, you can narrow it down. You see realtors do this a lot, where you're narrowing it down to a specific community in a geographic area. So that kind of depends on your particular needs or actually area. So choosing to focus on a niche is a strategic decision to serve a specific client base better than competitors who target the larger, more general market. So going back to this anti-generalist idea. So choosing a niche or specialty gives your tax and accounting practice a competitive edge from the time you open the doors. Now think about that. You're already perceived as being better than the generalist just because you've targeted the specific audience, okay? So if you try to launch your practice in a crowded kind of generalist category or market, and some of you have tried to do that, you're going to face a very fierce battle against established competition. They already have a set client base in your area. They're already getting referrals from that client base. They might have a very solid Google ranking. They have a ton of reviews. So it's going to be much harder for you to set up shop in their area and compete with them, especially with the digital age. So focusing helps you compete not by selling different services necessarily, but by doubling down on a specific part of a target market, okay? So when you select a target, the one way we do it, and we even in some of the research that we've done with some of the vertical or niche type content that we've created, we Google it. We Google this specific, let's say it's dental CPAs, or I'm looking for dentists. So, from Google, what can we find out? We can find out how large is the audience. If I was going to do a specific specialty within that, and when I say a specialty, so a niche would be I'm targeting dentists. A specialty is I'm doing dental payroll. Okay, now the specialty, that is kind of a specialty hybrid. I'm going to back up, I guess, a little bit here. Payroll is the specialty. Dentist is a niche. If we did both, it's a hybrid of the two, okay? So when you're trying to define who you want to go after, let's figure out what is the scope of work. Also, let's figure out what's the frequency that the need of the particular service you're offering. So meaning if the need is only once a year, that's probably not enough to feed, the income that you need, right? You want something that is at least monthly, something that perhaps the need is even, more often than that. Or if you're doing a specific niche where you have a annual requirement, you have a monthly requirement, you have a biweekly requirement. So meaning payroll is biweekly, closing the books a monthly, quarterly reviews, for example, if you're doing virtual CFO, and then you're doing the annual tax return. So then now you have a niche where you have many different touch points to be able to bill your clients on, and that's what makes kind of choosing the right area a little bit stronger for you. So, how many other firms are targeting your specialty or niche? You need to figure that out. So Google will start ranking you based on not only your specialty, but also the location you are to the searcher. So even though, you are doing a nationwide kind of web for clients, it may still come down to Google's ranking of who is doing that same nationwide target that's local to you, and are they better than you or not. So you want to do that kind of research before you choose, which niche or specialty you use. How big is the target audience? We just talked about that. What are the most popular keywords to use on the website? So in your copy, you want to make sure that there are a lot of key influencers that you can network with, and you can start identifying these people. And then, once you figure that out, it's basically, okay, what now is the right niche for me? So you need to ensure that you have not targeted a niche or specialty that is so small that there are not enough prospects available to make your practice profitable. And this is that kind of key issue that I want everyone to think about. Don't go so micro that all of a sudden there's 25 companies that you're trying to win over, right? That's not going to work as well. So that would be where we consider the risks that might accompany a niche specialization. And here's an example: financial statements and audits for veterinarians versus offering veterinarians a full virtual CFO. And that's kind of the trade-offs that you're going to have to look at, because you might be in a situation where you can charge top dollar in a very narrow, small audience and only have a few clients. As long as the risk of losing one doesn't put you under, that might be a direction you want to go. So that's kind of the general background on how to choose your niche or specialty. So there's a few things there to kind of think about as we go through here. And let's do the specialty examples. And this is where hopefully I'm defining this a little bit better. So expat tax services is a specialty. Cannabis tax services is a specialty. IRS tax problems, tax planning is a specialty. Targeting SaaS businesses. And when I say specialty versus niche, a niche is, hey, I'm going after medical offices. I'm going after veterinarians. I'm going after architects, auto dealers. So just kind of look at them. Those are the key differences. And then, as I told you before, you can have a niche specialty as you start running through here. And here's just a couple of examples of just imagery talking to the pain points. So when you start developing your marketing campaigns towards these audiences, you want to speak their language. And we have some things we're going to announce here as this workshop goes, but using photography, using copy that speaks specifically to them. So when that audience lands on your website, they know exactly what you are all about, right? 100% virtual service for your pet grooming business. This is pretty narrow, but this is a specialty that this person has been able to be successful with. There's a lot less competition, but that gives you kind of a general idea. That's how narrow someone has gotten here. First responders, for example, on the JPN services. So these are just some ideas of clients that we have now that are targeting specialties or niches. So just a good way to kind of think outside the box a little bit. Kind of the way I'm looking at building a niche or specialty into your brand. One of the main things I think people need to recognize is it's something you have to invest in order to create a brand or cultivate a brand that's in a specialty or niche. You need to make sure that, one, you've developed kind of a landing page and copy pain points that is going to speak to the audience, but more importantly, you got to get yourself out there. So we're going to give you a couple different examples as we continue here of establishing that landing page or the initial website presence, right? And then from there, what are the tools that we can do? So what different social media groups are there that we could join and become an influencer, become someone where we can start showcasing our expertise. And that could be, as I'm going to go the geographic side. Hey, I'm just targeting Newport Beach, but I'm looking for Newport Beach high net worth individuals who are retired at a certain age. I might find some different social sites that they're hanging out with, or even some places where humans still are meeting and greeting and talking. I might start establishing my brand, joining those groups, creating a meetup, whatever it is. And I would start putting my time and effort into sharing my knowledge there. And it could be something that you're doing for free. You could start posting content of yours that are directly to that niche. But one of the things that people don't realize, you just can't put up an industry page on your website and then expect to create a niche or specialty. You 100% have to put the time and money into it, which is kind of going to lead me into how you do that. So what are their pain points? What keeps them up at night, right? Why are you the right pro to solve these problems? And if you're speaking these in your copy points, and we've developed, again, something we're going to talk about here in another slide or two, where, we've identified copy that talks to that user. Okay, this is my pain point. This is how you are going to help them have a better financial outcome. And then these are the reasons why you should work with me. It could be different calls to action, not calls to action, but social proof from your other clients who are in the same specialty. So let's say they're entertainers, actors, actresses, behind the cameras, directors, whatever it is. Anything that backs up that, hey, I work with these type of people. I know how you work. I live and breathe with you. We've developed copy around that, and that's really helped some of our firms that specialize to get better rankings and more conversions, quite honestly, right? So you need to understand the needs, their service needs first. I talked about this before, and the frequency of these touch points. So in other words, you don't want to focus your practice on a target who needs only quarterly work. And we've talked about this earlier. I'm just going to reiterate it. So as you are building your niche, make sure you're thinking of those things as you go through it. And there's some examples here. So you could Google, let's say, I want to target attorneys. Attorneys have good income. They are in need of tax planning. They're in need of kind of retirement planning, tax advantage planning. There's a large audience, 1.35, that was on a Google search, attorneys in the US. So that would be a niche, but you could go lower than that and just focus on a specific subset where the specialty comes in. So I'm going to target them the tax planning rather than focusing on just the entire service. So there's ways that you can do this. When you're choosing your approach, you want to get specific so you can stand out here, right? So there might be a lot of people already targeting attorneys. I specialize in attorneys. There might not be as many that have a specific secret sauce tax planning, tax minimization strategy for attorneys. And that's where you would say, okay, what is their pain point? Their pain point is they don't want to spend as much money as possible on taxes. They want to, especially attorneys, right? They want to minimize their taxes. Their pain point is, okay, if I do that, I want to make sure I don't get in trouble. I want someone who knows how attorneys work. How can I minimize that, my specific niche's income and shield as much as possible from Uncle Sam? That's kind of how they're looking at it. And when you develop your content around this, by focus on that niche of lawyers, you're specializing, you're building your expertise in a certain area, and you're able to stand out. So I keep going back to this. You don't have to go too small or too specialized in order to glean the benefits. So I hope that makes sense, but that's kind of the way I would tackle this as you go. So developing a roadmap for success. We've worked with thousands of CPAs. We've kind of seen, and EAs and tax professionals, we've seen firsthand what works and what doesn't work. What's great is we do have all the analytics that come out of this. So when we're talking about not being a generalist and by specializing, we know that these people are more successful than our generalists. They have more clients. We have a law enforcement police officer tax firm that has almost 10,000 clients, and their business is basically kind of runs on its own through referrals. So it's the reason we're sharing this knowledge, and with the official launch of as of July 20th, will be what is going to be our Lightning sites. And what they are is a ultra-fast, mobile optimized, ready to launch at any time, vertical niche specialty site, right? So we have created, I think, 20 plus out of the box, targeting different specialties and niches. There is no designer involved in this. It is easy to set up, and you can edit your copy and we can kind of fine tune it. But there's a couple of advantages of our Lightning sites. One is the speed. I was talking to one of our customers about speed during a conversation, and they were just like, meh, big deal. And trying to explain to them, Google went mobile first a year ago, how important it is for your indexing, how important it is for the user experience. You're seeing more and more big brands have very minimalist websites. That trend is for a reason. Those sites are converting. That's what the consumer wants to see. They want to be able to land on your site, know very quickly that this is for me, speak in a story, my pain points. You're going to get more interaction, and more importantly, Google's going to love that kind of site. So our Lightning sites out of the box, scoring 100 out of 100 on our Google speed test. That's insane. That's incredible. So we're really excited about what we're doing here, and we are going to start rolling this out to all of our VIP clients first. and kind of giving you the first ability to start claiming some real estate. If we have out of our 20 some out of this, I'll call them templates, if we are not covering something that you are focusing on, we will develop that content for you. So we're going to kind of analyze and look at the suggestion box. It might be content that you have already created. You could use that and build your own. Or if it's content you want us to help you build, just run that through Sarah and her side on the VIP team, Dex, and we'll go ahead and get that going for you. So the launch date of this is going to be July 20th. We will have a outgoing campaign for you. And I'm just throwing out a real quick, they are very simple, to the point sites. They're going to be covering all of the main things. Who's on the team? What's the social proof? What do I do? How do I know this is speaking to my direct audience? These sites are going to get well indexed. You're going to probably be outranking some of your own main sites and definitely outranking competitors. So this is definitely kind of the future. This will in some ways disrupt the way a lot of tax and accounting firms market themselves. So we're very excited about this and hope that you guys are as well. So we'll start rolling this out shortly here in the next month. And we'll be here to kind of answer your questions and kind of show you how it all works and get it going. So how can I help, or how can I get help, right? So first, let's work on finding a niche, especially that fits your practice. We've given you some background. We're not going to sit here and give you exact advice because we don't necessarily know each of your own specialty and kind of your wants, but I would sit down and say, okay, well, what do I really enjoy? What do I want to focus on? What do I already have quite a few clients in that I could then scale up? That's how I would identify who I would go after. You can go after more than one. There's nothing wrong with having, 2, 3 specialties. You can probably build your entire practice on that. But realize once you start getting into a niche or specialty, you're kind of in it. And, that's what you do. That's what you're going to be known for. So you better love it before you decide to go there. So from there, we create content, branding, copy that speaks to your target audience. Again, we have some out-of-the-box copy that we can fine-tune. We then would help you design one of the lightning sites and get that ready to launch. And the good news is this is not a long process. These sites are very simple. They are not, you don't need a full design onboarding team. This is going to be more of a Sarah level, copywriting level versus the design level. So again, look for the announcement coming out on July 20th as we roll that out. And we're excited to get there. So I know, Alexa, we might have some Q&A because this is a little shorter.
Okay. Yeah. So we have 3 questions. We'll go through those pretty quickly. But the first question I have is, how do I research what niche is right for me?
Yeah, and I kind of targeted this or talked about this a little bit before, but when selecting a target, Google can tell you a lot about your potential audience. So, how many other firms are targeting your specialty or niche? So meaning, is this already a highly competitive area? I might not want to jump in there. And realize, again, this is different. You might be going after the same niche or specialty, but if you're in California, your results and your competition might look completely different than someone is in Oregon or Nevada or Illinois or Ohio, whatever. So this is Google and Google My Business does rank local brands, even though you're casting a wave nationwide or worldwide or specialty. They do look at geography based on where the searcher is coming from. So they will pull that off of your website and know what it is. So, how big is the target audience? You can do trial and error here. So you can explore different angles and trends until you find an underserved audience or demand in the market. That's what's great about the internet. You get feedback pretty quickly. Keep in mind that even if a competitor is targeting your niche, you can still compete by doubling down more on a specific segment of the audience. So that's why my example earlier about attorneys is a huge audience. But I just then took the tax planning route or, tax minimization or retirement, tax advantage savings, whatever you want to do. I've now created an area that, it's all about being a specialist, not a generalist. That's how you're going to compete. That's how you're going to get business. So also look for, passionate communities, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. The web will show you the most popular communities based on different shared interests. So you might have something that you thought was kind of small, where there is, hundreds of thousands of people that are interested in it. So, definitely use Google to kind of start looking for that information. And, get in there, start joining these groups and start sharing your knowledge. Remember, you're not selling. That will come later after you have established your reputation and credibility. But I think that answers that one.
Yeah, great. The second question, when you kind of touched on this, but I think we can go over it again. Do I need a second website to target my niche?
Yeah, and we obviously think so because Google will index your industry pages and subsections within your website, and a lot of users that come to you because of your brand name, you're still going to want that content on your main site. But if you want to get more indexing, it's much easier to focus your message to a specific audience in its standalone site. By establishing that standalone presence, you can also get indexed faster. And more likely you're going to outrank the generalist site. So that's obviously why we've created our Lightning sites. We're actually updating our platform where you can have your main website. So let's say you're on a Parallax website now, you have your main website, that stays exactly the same. You could add 2 or 3 different Lightning sites that are going after your specialty or verticals and manage them all through the 2.0 dashboard. So that's something you'll see as we roll this out.
Absolutely. And on that note, the last question I have is, I am interested in the Lightning sites. How can I get started?
So what I would say is current clients could reach out to Sarah or Katie to get on the waiting list. And I would start basically kind of looking at the default sites that we already have in queue. You can discuss then with them your target audience. Do we currently have content for this already, or do we even develop new copy? So those are the kind of things we'll discuss with you. So the earlier in the queue, the quicker you go live to claim your space and most likely getting indexed in those areas. So this is going to be a little bit like the Wild West with kind of a gold rush per se of let's get your established site up sooner than later than the competitors. Again, we're opening this up to the VIPs now, the general public on July 20th. So definitely something to think about. You can go to our VIP team. Actually, I think I have the info here. So you go to call our 800 number. If you spoke to Sarah, she can assist you and kind of get you moving on this, or email our VIP at countyworkspro.com and just mention Lightning site, and then perhaps say the different niches or specialties that you're looking at. And then we'll again see, how that holds up with what we already have. So I'm going to go ahead and end this workshop. A little rambling here today, but I do think that this is an area that you should start thinking about if you have not. It's going to be harder and harder kind of in the digital COVID pandemic world to find and attract clients. There's a lot of people that need a lot of help, and I really want to push our pros to get these people as clients. And we feel this is definitely a great pathway to get us there. So I appreciate you spending the time with us, and I hope you found some value here. Thank you.
Thank you.